Madam Chair, the time is now 5 p.m. You may start the meeting when you're ready.
Yep. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Loretta Walsh. I am chair of the Wilmington Public Safety Committee, and this is an official meeting, Monday, October 12th, 2020, of the Wilmington Public Safety Committee. Before we get started on the committee itself, I would like to have council members who are in attendance to check in. Again, my name is Loretta Walsh. I'm a council member at large.
Buck Creel, City Council, 8th District.
Ciro Adams, member at large.
Yolanda McCoy, City Council, 6th District.
And I believe we also have a non-committee member here.
Yes, this is Willie Patrick.
No, you're a chief. What, chief?
Oh, okay. Okay.
I meant council member at large Dixon. So
Okay.
if she's still here.
Yes, I'm here, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before we get started, I would like to make an announcement. Former chief, who is going to give the presentation today on the Group Violence Intervention Committee, Bobby Cummings, had a major family crisis this past weekend, and unfortunately his mom has passed. So he did ask permission for us to reschedule him, and it was given to him. So many of us do know and have a personal relationship with former Chief Cummings. So please keep he and his family in mind as we move forward with everything in our city.
Yes.
So, former Fire Chief Patrick, tell us about what you're doing now.
Hello,
I believe you have 3 resolutions to present to the committee today.
Yes, Madam Chair. And thank you for the opportunity to present the resolutions. I have 2 emergency management performance grants and 1 Homeland Security grant to present. Each one of the grants, the emergency management and the Homeland Security grant is has no impact on our fiscal budget. So I'll start with the smaller one, which is a Homeland Security grant.
Start with the
And-
$10,000 one.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. This is this one. Okay. So the Homeland Security grant program is a pass-through grant that goes from FEMA Region 3 to DEMA, and we're a sub-grantee of the Homeland Security grant. Just let me specify and clear up any confusion. This is not an application, a grant application by the city of Wilmington. The grant application actually goes from DEMA to FEMA, and we're a sub-grantee. The purpose of this grant is to increase our capabilities to address the threat of terrorism. The state every year does a threat hazard identification risk assessment, and from that risk assessment, they do what they call as a state preparedness report. The purpose of the preparedness report is to identify gaps in the state's ability to address terrorism. One of the things that I identified as far as the Office of Emergency Management was that we have a command vehicle that's about 15 years old. Now that vehicle probably when it was purchased was probably state of the art, but a lot of the systems are outdated, and we've been working to update it with digital monitors because a lot of the equipment is analog, and if anyone who's a techie understands that that's outdated stuff, right? So what I wanted to do was update it to digital. So we're installing digital monitors, a digital server that replaces the old DVD type of system that's currently in the vehicle, and then there's some other things that we're going to that's going to support the actual installation of the equipment. One of the things that is good about this grant is that, like I said, there's no fiscal impact of this grant because there's no matching funds.
So, Director, this is a $10,200 grant to basically upgrade the current
Command vehicle.
system that we have now to be upgraded to digital.
Exactly.
Okay, that's the bottom line.
Yes, that's it.
Okay, council members, does anyone have any questions? I don't see any hands up. Do any members of the public have any questions? Seeing none, we don't need to take a vote on this because it is a resolution. So, Director, we'll move on to the second one.
Okay,
which
the
is
second one.
for the $480,000.
No, well, there's the second one would be the Emergency Management Performance Grant Supplemental. So, and that's for $69,250.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, all right. So this year, FEMA Region 3, seeing that that a lot of the agencies, a lot of the emergency management offices was highly stressed by the ability to respond to the COVID-19 state of emergency, the pandemic. They came out this year with a supplemental grant to the Emergency Management Performance Grant. So, and the purpose of this grant is to assist state and local governments with their abilities for prevention, preparation, and response to the COVID-19 public health emergency. We had chosen to use the grant for three things. The first was to purchase a SteraMist decontamination unit, and I think that the fire department also purchased one, to get additional personal protective equipment, PPE, for essential city workers, and then also what we're looking to do is to, after we get this thing under control, is to do an impact study to just look at our preparation, our response, and our recovery from the pandemic emergency. And I think that's key, because I think, Madam Chair, that you would agree that there's been a lot of lessons learned in our response to this emergency. There's a 50% match, and the match has already been budgeted. And a great thing about this grant is that it's either a cash or in-kind match. So we can use our existing budget as to match the required 50%.
Director, I was interested in that phrase because on the resolution itself, I don't think it says in kind, but it does say that $34,625 has already been budgeted.
Yes,
and
yes.
I was thinking to myself, well, how could it be budgeted for something you didn't know was coming down the line?
Well, because of the fact, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, because the next one we're going to be addressing also says money has been budgeted.
Yes. So
how did that happen?
So how excuse me, how it happens is that when you the current emergency management performance grant and the supplemental grant allows you to use your existing budget. In this case, salaries, benefits. It allows us to use the our MS&E to match, to provide our match. And that's, so essentially that's what our match is. And this is what, and that's what was approved by council when the budget was adopted back in May. Excuse me.
Well, I think that Homeland Security has so many layers to it too in our country, starting from, the smallest, which would be us, all the way up to the highest in Washington.
Yes.
So with all these layers, why in something like this is there a need to hire an outside consultant to study whether or not the procedures are correct?
Well, it's not hiring a like I said, it's an impact study. I think, and I think just looking at what other municipalities, county government, and state government is doing, it's going to do. after any large scale emergency, you like to do the purpose of going through this actual process is to do an after actions report. And then, and with the actions report, I mean, I would say that we probably did everything, maybe not everything, but we did a lot of great things, and we need to identify those things. There were some things that probably we could have done differently. We need to identify those things. I think that to be able to formulate a report, to be able to say, okay, what went right, what can be changed, and then put that into and then incorporate that into our infectious disease response plan, I think is vital. I think that's, I mean, I think we have an obligation to do that.
Well, I'm not saying we don't have an obligation to do that. We do, but what I'm saying is we always hear about the money, how it's being spent.
Mm-hmm.
We never hear about the success or failures of programs from the past. So we don't necessarily know, we don't necessarily know what the failures were, or what the successes were.
I see.
That's the point I'm trying to make.
I got you.
Okay, on the $69,250 application, do any council members have any questions?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Councilman Chris Johnson.
Councilmember
I wasn't
Johnson?
sure. I wasn't sure if I was recognized as being here this evening.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't think you were.
Okay.
And I believe
Thank you.
Councilmember Harley also was not recognized, and she is here now.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam President. At this time, may I proceed with my question?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I appreciate the run through, Director, and I specifically, I guess, have questions about the consultant. I understand what portions of the dollars are being used for, but this impact study does mention a consultant. Is there current consideration for a minority or disadvantaged business consultant?
Yes, indeed.
Because typically we do find that these are non-minority consultants. Is there a minority consultant firm that's on your radar, at least?
Yes, indeed. Yes, the consultant that we work with in the past is a minority consultant who assisted us in updating our infectious disease response plan and our emergency operations plan and our continuity of operations plan. It's a minority-owned business.
Okay, and do they know about this upcoming project and study? And is this within their wheelhouse?
Yes, I mean we've spoken about it, and they're anxious to be involved. But to be honest with you, Councilman, I think I would be obligated to just look at a couple others possible consultants also. But the fact that we have a known track record with this particular consultant who's done some great work for us and for Newcastle County, I'm not saying that we're committed, but we have a history.
Okay, I just, from a council perspective, we at least just want to ensure, as we've gotten better in our practices, to really have a just city. At least the minority business is in the running.
I agree.
Field, and then we go from there. So I definitely, look forward to getting further updates in the future.
Sure enough.
Thank you.
Any other council members? Seeing none, is there a member of the public who would like to say anything? All right, seeing no one, let's move on to the big one, Director.
Okay,
Your
so
$480,000 one.
Okay, so thank you, Madam Chair. So the emergency management, like I said, the original emergency management performance grant It's been in existence for since right after 9/11. This is a grant that we use every year to support the operations of the emergency, the Office of Emergency Management. This grant is just what it says, the Emergency Management Performance Grant. It's to facilitate the operations of the Office of Emergency Management administratively, operationally, and then in the case of activations to support Emergency Operations Center activations. There's also a planning piece to it. There's emergency management planning, disaster planning, and the purpose of the whole grant is to assist in building a resilient community. There is a 50% match, and again, this is it's already been budgeted as in-kind match. Salaries, benefits, MS&E is applied to this grant, and then there's other grant funding from the LEPC that's also applied.
So this grant basically funds your office?
It does.
Okay.
Right. So in essence, I'm paid half from the city and half from the Emergency Management Performance Grant.
Gotcha. Okay, any council members have any questions?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Councilmember McCoy?
Thank you. So just want to know, I do hear that that your office actually uses this fund to facilitate. Wanted to find out, do you actually, you're using what was this, like $40,000 less than $1 million?
Mm-hmm.
So you're using this $960,000 a year to run your office?
No, Councilman, no. That there's a confusion there. So
okay.
the total grant is for $480,000. What we're getting from and that's what funds my office, $480,000.
Mm-hmm.
What we're getting from the feds is $240,000.
Oh, it's half of that. Okay, I'm sorry.
Half of this, yes.
Okay. All right. And so the other question is, so the additional 240, so we're at like 70-something thousand or whatever. So wanted to find out that 3/4 then of $1 million to run the OME. Are we finding that every year that there are substantial changes or needed improvements on your annual basis to, I guess, whatever your procedures are to stay up to date?
Well, Councilwoman, yeah, I would say that it's been pretty consistent. This year, it's probably going to be higher because we've had a couple of activations for civil unrest. We've had, of course, I activated the EOC at a level 2 back on March 12th. When the city went into a state of emergency, and I've operated at a virtual level 2, which is enhanced partial. This is a partial activation for that time. A couple of times during the course of the year, during the summer, we activated to a full activation of level 3 because there was a need. WPD had asked to utilize the EOC to facilitate their operations, and then we activated for the Democratic National Convention. The EOC was activated. So this year it's been an uptick in our operations.
Okay, Madam Chair, may I continue?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, so I actually do see where there has been an uptick, and given valid reasons on why these funds are needed. So then previous then when we actually did not have as much civil unrest, you know, like you say you had to activate, or I guess, you know, OEM, like they had to increase, I guess, whatever that level is. What does that look like when it comes to how they are assisting Wilmington Police Department?
I don't think I understand your question.
Okay, so
Councilwoman.
I'm sorry. So this, I'm sorry, I may not be explaining it correctly. So looking at the grant, and it's for the Office of Emergency Management, and because of the fact that we had such, you know, there has been such an increase of assistance, I guess, from your office when it comes to the Wilmington Police Department. What does that look like? What does your assistance look like to the Wilmington Police Department? Because I don't think that everyone kind of knows what
Okay.
management does.
Okay. All right. So and thank you for that question. And you're right. Many times I tell people that I'm the director of emergency management, and their first question to me is they say, "What's that?" Right. So I would say that for an activation, for a typical activation, there is the recall. There's just getting everybody here to the emergency operations center. Then it's going and then it's actually going to the process of first identifying the incident, setting some objectives for the incident, and then developing an incident action plan to address those objectives. With WPD, say for when we activated for the let's say the Democratic National Convention, we came together with not just WPD. There were EMS, St. Francis EMS. There were paramedics here at the EOC, supervisors. We had federal partners here from the Secret Service, from the FBI. They were all part, and instead of everybody being spread out in different areas, they all come together to the Emergency Operations Center to mitigate the incident. And I act as the Emergency Operations Center coordinator. In the case of the Democratic National Convention, Inspector Ash was the incident commander, and we work together with our internal and outside partners to mitigate the incident.
Director,
Yes.
for the example you just used, aren't we getting reimbursed by the DNC for a fair amount of what had to be done during that whole time?
I'm not privileged to that, Madam Chair. I would hope so. From what I understand, there was a lot of expense put out to support the DNC, mostly from WPD. And I'm not sure. I haven't been privileged to the conversations about the reimbursements for that.
Okay, I guess my question, piggybacking on Councilmember McCoy's question, when you say you had to go up to level 3 or whatever that means,
The full
whatever
activation.
that is, that's where I get lost in the weeds. Like, does that mean you gathered all the information? Say the governor, when he had the ban on people being outside, like driving if it was unnecessary and all that stuff.
Yes.
I would assume that you cooperated with small areas to let, and specifically WPD and maybe WFD too,
Yes.
to inform them about what was needed on the streets of Wilmington.
Yes.
So then did you follow up, or did you make recommendations to them that you should stop these people to see if they should be on the streets? You should stop people that are gathering in parks without distancing and masks and all the other things that the governor was requiring? Are those the types of orders that you gave to our various departments?
Well, not so much as orders, but recommendations. The order and that's a great example. There was early in the pandemic, the governor had rode through town and had down Shipley Street and had concern about a large crowd gathering on Shipley Street at a homeless facility. He noticed that there was no social distancing. A lot of them were not wearing masks. He in turn called the director of emergency management for the state, who in turn called me, who I in turn called WPD and asked, hey, listen, there's a concern by the governor about people not social distancing on 6th and Shipley, and they sent an officer over. When you talk about, you asked about the level of activation, the activations, so say if there is a storm coming and it's not considered to be a real heavy storm or a real significant storm, we might activate to a level called enhanced watch. No need to call in additional personnel. Margie Williams and I will probably be doing the monitoring from the EOC ourselves. Then it goes to a partial activation. That in the partial activation, so the storm is starting to intensify and we need additional people. So, but I don't need all of our department heads. I don't need all our cadre of people who would actually, excuse me, who would actually man the EOC. I might just need public works. I might need L&I. I might need PD or fire. So, so that's a partial activation. A full activation is what we did for the DNC. Everybody comes, and the idea is to bring as many resources under one roof to be able, so you don't have to make phone calls. If I need to talk to Public Works, they're right over there at that table. If I need to talk with L&I, they're at that table, or the FBI, right? So that's the difference between the different levels of activation.
Thank you, Director. Council members, other questions?
Yes, Chairwoman.
Councilmember Johnson.
Walsh. Following up on the previous questions from this evening, in regards to your office, can you clarify for me, Director Patrick, how big is your office and your staff?
My office is myself. You mean the staffing?
Yeah,
the staffing, not physical.
No,
not physical.
No, staffing. How big is the staffing?
All right, so my staff is myself, and then we have a CERT, which is Citizens Emergency Response Training Coordinator, which is Margie Williams, and that's my staff. But the great thing, Councilman, is that my staff can grow quickly if I call for a and coordinating with the chief of staff. If we decide that there's a need for an activation of the EOC, then my staff grows to 13, because there's every department head in essence would be a part of the emergency operations staff, doing different functions, doing the planning function, doing the logistics function, doing the operations function within the EOC.
Okay, because my concern, obviously, I'm looking at the grants, and it's great that we're going for those federal grants, but I feel like looking forward, it may not be enough. You may have additional staffing needs from the federal government, because not only aside from the pandemic, given that if Vice President Biden becomes the president, we'll have an increase. I think presence in Wilmington in need of emergency operations. So I'm just looking ahead that, have you thought about maybe getting or asking for increased money, beyond $480,000?
Yes, and Councilman, I would say that over the past couple of years, we've been able to manage the office with the funds at hand. But I would say, and that's a great point, because come November, you know, with the pace, with the pace probably increasing, I would say that there's going to be a lot of work, and we are projecting. We start looking at the next emergency management performance grant next March, April. And I think those are the conversations we really need, realistically, we really need to have. One of the things that I got to just bring out is the fact that right now we're right at the end, right in the middle, towards the end of the hurricane season, I think if you've been following on the Weather Channel, this has been a pretty active season. So I don't know if it's related to global warming but you know, so you get the natural emergencies, the man-made emergencies, and all that other things, you know, combining, right? Then so the workload it gets pretty heavy. Thank God we've been able to keep up with the pace and tempo of the office. But you know, but being a planner, you're right. We need to foresee what ifs. That's my job. My job is to plan for the what ifs, right? So that's a great point.
Thank you, Director Patrick.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Councilwoman.
Yeah, actually, I just have one more thing to actually state. What Councilman Johnson actually stated is valid, and I definitely can understand why we may need that, you know, if November turns out the way that we hope. At the point, though, right now, even though we had this situation this year, I'm still not quite understanding, like, the 720,000, and there's only 2 staff people who actually are being paid from these funds, and it's half of it, like, you know, from these funds. It's like, is it what was like the overhead? Is it vehicles? Is it, you know, equipment? Is it? I just felt like it was more than just your staffing, your income or whatever. And,
Right. Yeah. I mean, my salary. Yeah.
Right.
Right. Well, Councilwoman, I just want to make it clear that it's not 720,000. It's 480,000. Is what the operations of the Office of Emergency Management.
Okay, so every
Right.
time I look at this, I see. I'm so sorry again. I see the 480,000. It says 50% of the match. So I'm thinking it's 480 plus our 240. So we're only 480, meaning 240 is coming from us and 240 is coming from the actual grant.
There you go. There you got it. Okay.
So,
And you asked about the budget for the office. Right? So
yeah.
To keep the lights on,
Yeah.
50% of that comes from the feds, and 50% comes from the federal government for the Verizon bill, for whatever administrative costs that's cost to run the Office of Emergency Management. The city pays for half, and FEMA Region 3 pays for the other half.
Thank you very much. Thank you for explaining that one more time to me. About it's actually just 480,000.
Oh, no worries, no worries.
All right, thank you. That's all that I have, Madam Chair.
Anyone else for the director? Seeing no other council members, would anyone from the public like to speak? Seeing no one from there. Director, I thank you for your time. I want to ask you one thing during this pandemic.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Do we still have the sirens?
Yes. And
Well, we used to do
siren
we
tests.
used to do them about once every 16 months or so.
Yes.
Just to make sure they still work.
Yes. And
do we have any tests planned?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there is a test plan. They're activated from WPD, from Wilcom, and we do have a test plan. We're doing some updates, some upgrades too. There's a couple of them that need to be replaced. And we lost one down at the riverfront when they did all the construction and put in the new roads down at the riverfront. We lost one of our sirens there. So we're trying to figure out a new place for it and get it back operational.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, that's all I have, and that's all that's on the agenda. And again, we send our sincere condolences to former police chief Bobby Cummings and to his family.
Yeah.
May I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a
All
safe
right.
night.
See ya.
All right.
Take care. You have a good one.
Night.
Thank you, staff.
You're welcome. Take care. Have a good night, everyone.
Night.